Hi, and welcome to the weekly reminders. My name is Lauren, and it's great to be with you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful week thus far. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment asking yourself every day, what is it about me that makes it okay for people to treat me differently? Having to question your self-worth and identity on a daily basis. What effect would that have on one's emotional well-being? Now, imagine navigating in a world that is not designed for you to win, to succeed, no matter what, because of your skin color, your gender, your country of origin, your sexual orientation, etc. Racism is a mental health issue because racism causes trauma. And trauma paints a direct line to mental illnesses, which needs to be taken seriously. Yes, we all have trauma. No one person's trauma is more than the next. We all have the same baseline of life, but our experiences forces us to view life differently. July is BIPOC month. BIPOC means Black, Indigenous people, and People of Color month. This month focuses on bringing awareness to the struggles and experiences of underrepresented groups that experiences mental illness in the United States. B.B. Moore Campbell, an American author, journalist, teacher, and mental health advocate worker, worked tirelessly to shed light on mental health needs for the Black community and other underrepresented communities. According to the Mental Health America website, 41.8% of the U.S. population are people of color, and 13.5% were born in a different country. 4.5% of the U.S. population identifies as LGBTQIA+. People of color and all those whose lives have been marginalized by those in power experience life differently from those whose lives have not been devalued. We've experienced overt racism and bigotry far too often, which leads to a mental health burden that is deeper than what others may face. To understand the impact of trauma, we have to look from a lens that helps us look beyond one's experience, but think about historical factors, systems, and more that influence our thinking and emotional well-being. People can carry trauma throughout generations due to historical adversities, violence, and oppression. Sometimes our daily lives are influenced by trauma that we aren't even aware of. Trauma is deeply distressing or disturbing experiences. And those who identify as Black, Indigenous people, and people of color, specifically queer and trans people, can often recount tales of actions, words, and events that have made a deep impact on the way they live, speak, and think. So what is racial trauma? Racial trauma, or race-based traumatic stress, refers to the mental and emotional injury caused by encounters with racial bias and ethnic discrimination, racism, and hate crimes. Experiences of race-based discrimination can have a detrimental psychological impact on individuals and have prolonged effects of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It can look like depression, anger, reoccurring thoughts of the event, hypervigilance, low self-esteem, and mentally distancing from the traumatic event. Every day, people of color experience far more subtle traumas, such as racial profiling, mass incarceration of their peers, people who avoid them or their neighborhoods out of fear, schools that ignore or minimize their contributions to our shared history. An example of individual racism. In 2018, 38% of Latino people were verbally attacked for speaking Spanish and were told to go back to their countries, also known as a racial slur, and treated unfairly by others. An example of systematic racism. Previous and current policies of racial displacement, exclusion, and segregation have left all Black and Indigenous people and people of color less likely than whites to own homes regardless of level of education, income, location, marital status, and age. Depression is the most commonly reported condition across Blacks, Indigenous people, and people of color. Additionally, racial trauma can increase the risk of post-traumatic stress disorder. Importantly, stress plays a critical role in how racism affects both physical and mental health. Did you know that Black adults are 20% more likely to report serious psychological distress than adult whites? Did you know that people who identify as being two or more races are more likely to report a mental illness within the past year than any other racial group? Did you know that Native and Indigenous Americans report higher rates of post-traumatic stress disorder and alcohol dependence than any other racial group? Also, did you know Native and Indigenous adults, American adults, have the highest reported rates of mental illness of any single race identified group? The takeaways from today's episode: the reality is that racism is a mental health issue because racism causes trauma. Trauma is not defined by one's race, age, gender, or origin. It's all connected to mental health. We all strive for personhood, to be valued, to be worthy, to have human rights. It's tied into our identity, how we see ourselves and how we see ourselves in others. The totality of all of this is about our identity and feeling as a sense of that we belong. And people understand that. There are so many layers to this, but it's about gaining awareness of our differences, taking a proactive approach to bold conversations that keep us divided, and do it from a standpoint of understanding. For more information, please visit Mental Health America for more resources and information about BIPOC month as we celebrate that of July. They are offering a free tool for depression and anxiety, both in English and in Spanish. Also, please visit our website at remindsupport.org to sign up for our online support groups, as well as we have an adolescent support group that's available, and for additional resources. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Be safe, stay connected, and have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Thank you.